It's almost go time for the New York Giants as the NFL draft is just under an hour away from kicking off. What are the expectations? What's the latest? We're going to talk about all that coming up next on the LockedOn Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. I am Patricia Traina, and as promised, this weekend, this NFL draft weekend, which is finally here, thank God, right? Coming to you several times throughout the weekend with updates, observations, and whatnot, and want to get you started as we are now within about an hour away of the 2022 NFL draft kicking off. Some last minute thoughts on how this first round might unfold for the Giants. And basically, folks, I don't think anything's changed. I really don't. And by that, I mean the Giants, as of now, are on the clock for 5 and 7. They will make a pick at number 5. I just don't see them trading out of that number 5 spot. And I seriously doubt all three of the offensive tackles, Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, and Charles Cross, will be off the board by the time the Giants get to number 5 on the clock there. So the question becomes which offensive tackle the Giants are going to take. Now, before I answer that, I do want to share one kind of obvious piece of information. This is Joe Schoen's first draft as a GM. This is a critical draft for the New York Giants. This draft has got to be knocked out of the park, plain and simple. Schoen is not going to get fancy with this draft. He's not going to get cute. He's not going to take huge risks. He's not going to say, oh, I'll maybe if I wait until 7, I'll get my offensive tackle. No, he's not going to do any of that. He knows his team needs a right tackle, a starting offensive right tackle. That's going to be the pick, folks. I would be absolutely floored if that is not the pick. Now, the question becomes which of the big three, so to speak, is the pick. Well, I'm going to go with Evan Neal of Alabama. I know that there's been reports that the Giants have had some love for Charles Cross, who's a very good pass blocker, by the way. But the reason why I'm going with Evan Neal is because of the position versatility. Evan Neal can play left tackle, right tackle. He can also play some guard if you need him to. And he just gives the coaching staff that much more flexibility. And, make no mistake about it, folks. Coaches love players who can do multiple things for them, especially on offensive and defensive lines, because all it takes is an injury, and now all of a sudden, if you got to move somebody over, what do? Well, in the Giants' case, if God forbid Andrew Thomas were to suffer an injury, if they have someone like Evan Neal on the roster, they can move him over to that left tackle spot if need be. Otherwise, they leave him at right tackle, which is a position he's played a lot of snaps in college at. So I believe the pick is going to be Evan Neal at number 5. Now, what about number 7? This one's a little more difficult for me. I know the popular pick amongst a lot of Giant fans is Sauce Gardner. I am not so sure Sauce Gardner is going to make it down to the Giants at number 7 if they stay put. Could Derek Stingley be at number 7? I think that has a better opportunity of happening, and that's why I'm going to go with Derek Stingley and forecast him as the Giants pick at number 7. If it comes down to Sauce or Stingley, that's a toss-up. I know the Giants like Sauce, but I just think Stingley might be the guy. I just don't know why I can't shake that feeling, but I'm thinking they're just realistically not going to have a chance at Sauce. I could see Sauce going within the top 4 picks, to be honest with you. Now, what about a possibility of a trade down at number 7? It exists, but it's going to have to be a sweetheart of an offer. If it's not a sweetheart of an offer, the Giants aren't moving, plain and simple. And what's a sweetheart of an offer? Well, depending on how far up somebody wants to come. If it's Pittsburgh, it almost will definitely need to include the number 1 pick in next year's draft by the Steelers. They would have to give that up to the Giants. if it's a team like Seattle or Orleans maybe, the Giants might be able to just run with just extra picks in this year's draft, extra picks within the top 100. And that actually wouldn't be such a bad idea if the Giants were to come away with that, because now if New York wanted to trade back into the bottom of the first round, they have some extra assets to do that. By trading back into the bottom of the first round in this draft, it actually makes sense if you think about it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's probably going to cost them some of their day 2 and day 3 picks to do it, which is going to take away extra picks now you have to pay on the salary cap. Number two, and more importantly, it gives the Giants 3 players, assuming that they keep number 7, that will be able to retain for 5 years as opposed to 4 years. So in a team that's building, that's going to be very important. Remember, Joe Schoen said that he wants the Giants to be able to retain their own talent moving forward. They don't want to just give these guys one contract and then they're done, or cut them midway through a contract. So I could really see a scenario where somewhere between pick number 25 and 32, the Giants look to get back into the bottom of the first round because of the cap savings and because of, like I said, the extra 5th-year option that the pick would bring. So those are my expectations for the first round. I do not think the Giants are going to take a quarterback. I know a lot of you out there want to see them take Malik Willis. I don't see that happening. Will they take an edge rusher, or say, for example, if Kayvon Thibodeau is on the board? I get the impression that cornerback is probably a little bit more of the pressing need. But hey, listen, I'd be happy if they took a Kayvon Thibodeau if he's there. But I just, having done some research, and unless I'm misreading the tea leaves here, I think the pick is going to be a cornerback at that spot. Now, the other question, what's going to become of cornerback James Bradberry? Might the Giants move him today? That's a good one. I really don't know the answer to that. I think it's going to depend largely on how the board falls. Kansas City has been mentioned as a team that could use a cornerback. I don't know that they're going to have a shot at any of the top cornerbacks in this draft class. They might not. That's the team I would watch for a trade regarding James Bradberry, if they are indeed going to move Bradberry. And if the Giants do land, like I said, with either Sauce or with Stingley, I think that increases the likelihood of the Giants moving on from James Bradberry. So that's my overview, just real quick, of what I'm expecting in the first round of this draft. It's going to be exciting. We're finally going to get some answers, and I can't wait to break it all down for you in follow-up episodes here on the LockedOn Giants podcast, as well as over on Giants Country. Now, whatever you do, after you're done with this particular podcast, flip on over to the Locked On NFL YouTube page for live coverage of the NFL draft. That's right. We're going to be starting that coverage. I believe it starts at about 7:30 and it's going to run all throughout the draft. So you're going to get every last pick in the first round. You're going to get day 2, day 3, live coverage featuring analysis from our in-studio experts, from our on-site reporters, such as yours truly, who will be at the Quest Diagnostics Training Center to report on the draft. Check it out, folks. I think you'll be very impressed with the wealth of knowledge and talent that we have assembled. So hope to see you over there. And of course, hope to see you back here on the LockedOn Giants podcast. I'll be back later tonight once the Giants make their picks with some thoughts, analysis, quotes, and anything else that's relevant that you need to know to keep you in the loop. Talk to you later, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.